Yo, what's up? Welcome to the WaveCast. We got KourtneyDee in the building. Shoot, tell them what you about, who you are, what's up?
What's good? It's your girl KourtneyDee tapping in with my bro Ike. I'm from Mo City, Houston, Texas. I make music. I like to consider myself as a motivational speaker because I enjoy talking about topics that most people don't enjoy talking about, and I feel like we need to bring light to these dark situations. So, that's a little bit of what I'm about. I love making music. I don't do it just to do it. I don't do it for clout. I do it because I actually have something to say and I want to be heard.
Well, as for today, we talking about accountability. Accountability in all forms and fashions. So, first of all, do you have any examples that you could give us that really show where you taking accountability for your actions helped you to become a better you?
Most definitely. I'm one of those people. I don't mind being wrong, and I'm okay when people call me out on my shit. Excuse the language, but seriously, because if I'm not addressing it and nobody else is addressing it, how will I ever know there's a problem? And that's the first thing. Everybody has a story, and I'm gonna just say 2019 for me has definitely been a roller coaster. And this year I had to open my eyes to the fact that as people, we all have a hand in the life that we live, meaning that there are circumstances that are above us, that are dealt to us, that we have to deal with. But when it comes down to it in those situations, ultimately it's the choices that we choose to make and going forward with whatever the situation is. And I can honestly say that, I'm not perfect. I do like to talk about positivity, but I do understand that negativity exists for a reason. And until
what's that reason? What do you think that reason is?
I definitely know that negativity serves as a catalyst for human beings, meaning that it is a point that awakens something in us, and it makes us realize something that we never thought to see or think about when it comes to decisions and actions that we're making. And most people think that, I just want to be positive and I want to live in the light and yada, yada, yada. But the reality of it is, just as much as you want to be positive, you have to deal with negative things, because if you don't know what negativity is or how to overcome it, how do you know how to be positive and be an influence on people?
That's real. Because something I always used to think about was if, whoever created this whole universe or whatever, you can call it God, the highest power, whatever you want to call it, why would they create the idea of like evil, negativity, and such and etc.? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Okay, so this kind of goes into what Disney does with their movies and their TV shows. They create fairy tales, and they always have to have a villain. There has to be someone that is the antagonist that stems the negativity, and those villains represent the darkness. And so what they do is they try to make it seem like there's right and wrong and there's always good versus evil. But in my spiritual journey and my lessons that I've learned, I've accepted that there's always been a dark side that exists because light comes from the dark. So is darkness really evil, or is it just something we don't really know because of the subliminal programming that, for example, Disney does? And so I think in the beginning there was no such thing as good as and evil. I feel like people did what they had to do in order to learn their soul, and they accepted whatever came to them as a way to help them grow. And that's really all that it is.
I can feel that, because I've also come to a place where I don't consider things good and evil. I consider everything as just being. Everything just is, So as far as bringing it back to accountability, it could be said that like when you do things, like when you know, perform actions and people say, did that action positively affect them or negatively affect them? What I think is that, like exactly what you said, like everything is leading people towards becoming their greatest self, whether it's, you know, bad shit or good shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, well, quote unquote bad shit or good shit. So like I can definitely feel that point.
Yeah, it's just, it comes a point in time when you have to realize, like, the journey of life is not about death. And with
Hmm.
that simple statement, learning to live is learning to overcome whatever comes your way and dealing with whatever, circumstance you were born into or whatever it is that you have to deal with. Because even with accountability, I believe that everybody, as children, we are our parents, right? But
Hmm.
if our parents have not dealt with the trauma that was casted upon to them in their lives, or even that comes from their parents' trauma, at what point in time do we break generational curses? And so,
Hmm.
and that's a big topic. We don't think about those things. Karma actually, it repeats itself through having children without dealing with those things yourself. And I think I realized this for myself like back in 2014 when I was in college for 2 years, away from my parents, away from my brother, and I got an older brother, and we didn't really grow up together, but we're like really different but alike at the same time. And
Right.
observing how he grew up versus how I grew up is when I realized your environment makes a difference. But at the same
Absolutely.
time, after like talking to my dad about certain things, I started seeing how the cycle was repeating itself. And so I
Hmm.
had to say, okay, well, I'm here to clear the trauma for my family. And if I want to make a difference, I have to do the things that my family has yet to do. I have to address the things that my family doesn't talk about and they don't deal with. And doing that, I realized that I have been on a path to light. I have been on a path to creating generational wealth for my family and
Absolutely.
breaking these curses. And people are afraid to do just that because they're so focused on the people that care about them and what they're going to say if they do something that's not according to what they believe they should do. And no, you have to wake up to your individuality and choose. And this is where
Hmm.
accountability comes in. You have to choose to be different. You have to choose to do something that nobody else is doing. And if that means that they're going to quote unquote demonize you and make you look like the bad guy, then I'm willing to play that role so that I can awaken my family to truth.
Oh yeah, I definitely can relate to you on that. When I'm Well, I mean, in the beginning, when I started this whole spiritual journey and whatnot, my family did not get it like at all, yo. Like
Mhm.
when I tell you, I was definitely the weirdo of the bunch, but it's cool though, you know,
The black
like
sheep.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really valuable experience because what it taught me is that we're all on our own paths, and like it
Mhm.
really removed kind of, you know, the air of judgment that I felt was always in the back of my mind all my life. And now I realize that you can't judge people for where they're at in their journey. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like they're simply growing, you know? They're simply going on their own path, and like that is okay. And like once I realized that, I stopped like you know, being like, what are y'all doing, why are y'all eating that, why are y'all like
Yeah.
so
Man,
yeah, man.
I definitely went through that with my parents too. Like when I started my spiritual journey, and I would come back home from school, and I dealt with digestive issues when I was in college because I
Hmm.
wasn't eating right. The college life, the college struggle. You're broke, you're eating noodles, or you're eating
Right.
fast food all the time. You're not really eating home cooked meals or, putting the nutrients in your body that you really need.
Hmm.
And my mom, she's also sick, but to like higher degrees. And I would always come home and be like, Mom, like, you're not supposed to be eating no pork, or you're not supposed to be
Right.
eating greens because your stomach and you can't digest it. And my dad always says, well, shit, you got to die someday from something, right? And I would be like, but that's not the point. If you awaken yourself to the truth, you can actually live longer than what you're expected, but you have to want that. And so at that
That's
point,
true.
that's when I was like, okay, I'm realizing everybody's journey is their own journey. And this is when
Yep.
I also stepped into accountability. Like, everything is about accountability, whether people want to accept it or not. But
Hmm.
they made me realize, like, your life is your life. You have to be accountable for everything that you do. And whenever you make a decision at the end of the day, you have to live with that. So, how do you feel about it? And I've always encouraged people, like, when things go wrong, don't beat yourself up, because I know what it's like being hard on yourself, and I know
Hmm.
what it feels like to be in a dark place and feels like you have no support and it's just you, and you just deal with depression and anxiety, because again, mental health is real. And so
Absolutely.
I know what it's like to deal with those things, and I can honestly say 2019 I started overcoming anxiety and depression, and realizing that certain decisions that I was making or choosing to overindulge in was creating this darkness within me. And like, I just got to the point where I was almost like, fuck society, fuck people, fuck all y'all. If you're not doing something for yourself, I don't need to be talking to you, because I'm
I remember
focused
that
on me
phase.
right now. Yeah,
Yep.
like, everybody has to go through a phase where they actually be selfish, but it's not a bad thing. People talk about selfishness like it's so harsh and cruel, but self-preservation comes first, and that's what selfishness
Yeah.
really is. Like, you have to choose, okay, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to walk away from it. I don't want to see that life, so I'm going to create something different. But like this conversation is about, it all goes back to taking accountability for what you really want for yourself.
Absolutely. And like the whole idea of selfishness is actually really close to the idea of self love. Like I don't even know
Right.
where the two I don't know break apart, but like from my experience, it seems that self love is the greatest thing you can do. Like because if you're not loving yourself to the fullest extent, and you won't be able to provide your true value. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you won't be able to yeah, that's the right way to say it. You won't be able to provide your true value. So like it's not being selfish. If
Mhm.
people, places, or things are bringing you down, it's all in your like right to like escape those things, and that
Right.
makes perfect sense. Like so that's why I don't know, my whole idea on all that has switched around, because I think a lot of conditioning in today's society is saying you don't love somebody unless you sacrifice
Huh.
some part of yourself.
Huh.
You know what I'm saying? Or
Huh. There
sacrifice
you
something
go.
for them.
Right.
You know? And that's not true at all.
At
That's not true at
all.
all. Like
At all. Because I learned that love doesn't have to be sacrificial. Why should I
at
have to
all.
sacrifice a part of my dignity and my integrity just to make you happy, when everybody deserves happiness? So why are we sacrificing anything? And that alone is how like, society conditions us with binary thinking, meaning good versus evil, right versus
Right.
wrong. Like, we should not be conditioned with that. And ultimately, to overcome that, you have to have understanding. Like, that's really what love is about. Love is understanding. Love is patience, just like it says in First Corinthians. I can't
Mm.
verbatimly quote it, but everybody has read that scripture. I don't care what you say. So, and that's something that people use to reference love, but they don't understand that that doesn't mean sacrificing. It's about being understanding. And like you said, everybody has that right to choose what it is they want to and what they don't want to deal with. And people call it selfishness, but you're right. It is definitely very synonymous with self love, because if you don't love yourself first, how can anybody else love you? Number one.
Right. And how
Number
can you love anyone else? Like,
exactly. And
it's
that
the
was
same
number
shit.
2. So if you don't love yourself, how can you love another? And number 3, self-love is about making sure that you are in tune with yourself. You are
Mm-hmm.
happy. Everything is stimulating internally. You're able to change your perspective when you see fit. And
Yep.
sometimes, I guess you could say the sacrificial part would be learning to adjust yourself to situations and learning that, okay, in some settings I'm this person, but in another setting I might have to be another way.
Right.
So in that aspect, that's how I look at sacrifice now. Nothing more, nothing less. But love is understanding, and self love stems from wanting to understand yourself so that you can have better connections with others.
I feel that to the utmost. Hey, it sounds like, I don't know, you wrapped it up pretty nice with that one right there. Shoot, how you feel? You got anything else you need to say?
No, man. If anything, I just want to tell everybody, like, your life is your life. You should not have to live up to your family, your partner, or anybody else's standards, because at that point, you're no longer being true to yourself. And so, with that type of honesty, that is you choosing to be accountable for how you handle yourself when you go in everyday life, how you choose to perceive situations. And we have to step out of this dualistic mindset of right and wrong, good and evil. Because if I'm being honest with you, because I like astrology and things, and people will tell you that it's fake and it's not real. But I do believe that the stars, the sun and moon are signs about certain things. And
Absolutely.
thinking about duality, this is why people don't like Geminis. Because Geminis have that dual mindset. People think of them as bipolar, but it's no. They are tapped into their spiritual selves and their humanity, but they don't allow humanity to take them out of who they know they really are. Point blank, period. So we have to step out that Gemini mind, that negative Gemini mindset, and step into merging everything and becoming one, and understanding that you have to deal with good and bad to get to where you're trying to go, because if everything was good, how do you learn how to grow? So you need things to grow past, you need things to transcend, to overcome, in order to be the best version of yourself, because the flesh is not perfect. Human, we are not perfect. Man makes mistakes for a reason. But who you really are, your soul, that was made perfect. So that means every experience that you go through, it was meant for you to go through. So don't make yourself feel bad when you get down or you choose to lose your faith. You just have to find it in you to always remember that everything happens for a reason, and this is a part of the plan. Or am I overcoming it, or am I holding myself back? And that's that was my biggest lesson of 2019. Stop holding yourself back. Take accountability and do what you truly feel is best for you, and make sure every step that you take is in alignment with your true self, the soul.
Let's get it. That's it right there. Hey, I appreciate you for joining me on the WaveCast. It was mad lit. I appreciate the information, the knowledge, the love, and I wish you the best in everything that you do. You feel me?
Hey, don't forget, I appreciate you. We met random circumstances, and we've been cool ever since. You gotta let the people know. You gotta let them know, man, we got more things coming for them with this music, with these podcasts,
Oh yeah, word on the street is.
Know.
Word on the street is me and you might have a collab tape coming out.
Oh yeah.
I heard about that. I don't
heard
know
about
if it's
it?
True.
I mean, all I can say is sorry for the wait.
Hey, all good though. Shoot, we'll see it if we see it.